Hello my shining stars, my name is Julia. Welcome to the first lunar day channel. My channel is not monetized, so your support, likes, shares and donations are very welcome. Today we will discuss the fixed star ALGOL, or the demon's head that affects lives of so many people, and every year depends on where the star lands in birth chart. It produces serial killers, murderers, wonderful inventors, brilliant musicians. Also, ALGOL star and aspects of this star affect the countries. For example, Ukraine is under Taurus sign, and as we know, the war started in February 2022 when the ALGOL star conjunct the North Node in Taurus. The North Node is often seen as a point of destiny or direction we are collectively heading towards, and every 1.5 years the North Node shifts. I have a separate video on my channel about North Nodes for the next 18 months. Please check it out. So North Node is like a compass pointing us towards our evolutionary path. So when ALGOL aligned with the North Node in Taurus, it amplifies those themes of Taurian energy like land resources and possessions and territorial disputes. Another prominent event that was connected with ALGOL star was the conjunction and the opposition of Mars, Uranus and ALGOL star in July last year, when the attempt to assassinate the President Donald Trump. It's a pretty volatile combination, but because Trump is a Gemini sign, he was unharmed. Also in his birth chart, in the house of death, house 8, there is no firearms or bullets, so he will not be harmed. But ALGOL star means the head or the head injury. That's why he had just a scratch on his ear, because Jupiter is in Gemini. Jupiter provided that nice umbrella that protected him. So some people do have the astrological protection when they have dark times. Jupiter is the planet of good fortune and expansion, and now it's transiting Gemini until June 2025. Some people can have the protection in the transit chart, and some people can have life-lasting birth chart protection. You just need to know which aspects affect your specific chart. It's very individual. 2025 is a potentially pivotal year with the several major astrological alignments that could bring significant shifts and transformation on both the global and the personal scale. So buckle up for a wild ride as we continue our deep dive into ALGOL and its astrological significance. So in 2025, I can see the specific date, April 26, 2025, when we have a series of really powerful alignments happening all at once. We have the war between Mars and Pluto. Mars squares Lilith. Lilith, the black moon. I have a separate video about it until December 2025. Please check it out. And on top of it all, Uranus and 26 degrees Taurus meets ALGOL star. And the effect of these powerful alignments and a very turbulent astrological weather will linger until middle of May. So not only we have this tense aspects between Mars, Pluto and Lilith and this stuff around power struggles, hidden forces pushing against the status quo, but we also have Uranus, the planet of sudden change and disruption, sitting right on top of ALGOL star. It means that this energy is getting amplified even more. As you remember, Mars, it's action, drive, it's an aggressive and fiery energy. It's everything that gets us moving or motivating, forcing us to change our life. Pluto is all about transformation power, very deep, hidden forces that shape our lives. Lilith is associated with rebellion, breaking free from the societal norms, embracing our shadow selves. And Uranus is the wild card, the planet of revolution, innovation, and those sudden unexpected shifts that shake up the society and personal life. So we got a powerful action, rebellion, and sudden change all covering on ALGOL fixed star in Taurus. And Taurus is an earth element. Earth sign. There is a definite possibility of powerful earthquakes and volcanoes, but also Taurus is associated with finances, resources, possession, and environment. So we definitely can expect major economic shifts and even a market crash. The fact that Neptune is entering Aries also can mean that it can be some catastrophic events of like natural disasters, tornadoes, tsunamis, and even with Uranus involved, there's always the potential for technological disruptions, breakdowns, blackouts. Think of cyber attacks, AI advancements, and sudden shifts in how we use or produce energy. So basically, we should be prepared for a potential roller coaster ride in terms of the economy, technology, and even our relationship with the planet. It's also important to mention the Uranus retrograde motion during this time, because Uranus is going towards Gemini. But before it will come to Gemini, it will go forward through the 26th degree of Taurus again, aligning with ALGOL star. And the moment it will pass the 26th, 27th degree of Taurus, this is when the program in many charts will be activated for different performances, depends on where this ALGOL star lands in your birth chart. Uranus will pass ALGOL degree not just once but 3 times in 2025. First in March, then in May, and then the third time will be the longest one from July to November. Uranus briefly dips into Gemini sign before retrograding back into Taurus. Uranus is changing sign in 2025, and as you know, Uranus takes about 84 years to complete a full cycle through the zodiac, so it spends roughly 7 years in each sign. And this longer transit can mark significant periods of change and upheaval related to themes of particular sign. So when Uranus enters Gemini in July, it could bring about major shifts in communication technology, media wars, even politics, especially considering that the USA is often associated with the Gemini in astrology by its impact on society. So we've got 3 hits from Uranus on ALGOL, and major shifts in Uranus enters Gemini in 2025, and it's shaping up to be quite a year. So please be extra cautious between March and May 2025 and try to avoid any extreme sports, especially if you have ALGOL star in your house 8 and you do not have good planets on the opposite side that could diminish the effect of ALGOL star. Not to have any head or brain injuries, I advise you not to participate in any surgeries or extreme sports during this time. If you plan that skydiving trip in March or April or May, it's probably a good idea to reschedule it. This is not the time, especially if you have ALGOL star in a different houses of your birth chart. It's not the time for you for impulse decisions, especially regarding finances or major life changes. So maybe hold on quitting your job and moving to a tropical isle. It will be very wise unless you've been planning that move for a while and it's not a spontaneous move. If you have ALGOL star in your birth chart in the houses connected with art inspiration, this year could be a year when you discover hidden talents, explore new passions, and even find innovative solutions to the challenges that you have. ALGOL is a powerful star. Let's speak about it more in details. ALGOL, known as the demon star or the head of a demon, and it's associated with the intense and potentially disruptive energy that symbolizes violence, upheaval, and the darker aspect of human nature. Its influence can bring sudden and unexpected disruptions, challenges, and crises, particularly in the areas of finances, possessions, security, and comfort. The head of a demon means the head of Medusa, Medusa Gorgona. In order to understand why this star had a bad reputation, let's remember the mythology behind its name. In the Greek mythology, Medusa was one of the 3 Gorgon sisters, and Medusa was once a beautiful woman with lustrous hair. She served as a high priestess in a temple of Athene, the goddess of wisdom and warfare. Medusa caught the eye of Poseidon, the god of ocean, who desired her for himself. In some myth, Poseidon took Medusa in Athena's temple, defiling the sacred space. In anger and betrayal, Athene cursed Medusa, transforming her into a hideous creature with the snakes for hair and a gaze that would turn anyone who looked at her into stone. Cast out from society and cursed by her own beauty, Medusa became a feared and reviled monster forced to live in isolation. Medusa's fate took turn when the hero Perseus embarked on a quest to kill her. How wonderful is that? With the aid of Athene and Hermes, Perseus thought to obtain Medusa's head as a weapon to defeat a sea monster and to save the girl who he fell in love. Using the mirrored shield to avoid looking directly, Perseus managed to decapitate Medusa, and Medusa at the time of her death was pregnant. At the moment of death, from her neck, 2 children of Medusa and Poseidon were born, the giant with a gold sword Chrysaor and Pegasus, the flying horse. The story of Medusa serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of betrayal, hubris, and divine punishment, the algorithms to be cursed by the beauty. Also, it's a female Kundalini energy, the unrestricted face of the passionate wild woman, which is often considered evil and demonic. Apparently, the star contains an irresistible female force and an incredible passion. This power, sometimes associated with the Mother Nature, should be not considered evil just because it has such powers. ALGOL is known as Eta Persei, a fixed star located in the constellation of Perseus. Traditionally, it's been associated with the themes of violence, danger, and intensity in astrology. And you can find this star that affects the whole birth chart in the charts of serial killers, murderers, or people who have sadistic or violent masterminds. This alignment may indicate sudden or unexpected events that shake up the existence structures and bring about significant transformations, as the connection between Jupiter and Uranus. On the positive side, this combination can lead to breakthroughs, innovations, and opportunities to growth. However, it may also coincide with the periods of upheaval, unrest, or conflict both on personal and collective levels. Individuals with this aspect in their birth chart may possess a pioneering spirit and a willingness to change the status quo, but they may also need to be mindful for impulsiveness or recklessness. ALGOL is the star of a second magnitude, a variable star. This star has a changed brightness over the time of the night. Its Arabic name translates as the head of a demon and has incredible passion. An interesting fact that lives of many famous people are directly connected with this star. For example, Albert Einstein's birthdays coincided with the culmination of ALGOL and Jupiter. One of his outstanding works laid in the foundation of the development of atomic physics. The atom itself is not evil, but when we talk about the atomic explosion, we see all the disruptive power of ALGOL, and there is no way back. It shifted the power in the world. In the natal chart of American President John F. Kennedy, the star was in culmination with Mars, and his killer's bullets showed us the dark side of ALGOL. Mars means firearms, and ALGOL means the head injury. The dictator Adolf Hitler had a setting star in his natal chart in astronomical midnight, so the power of ALGOL manifested itself in the second half of his life, and being associated with the sun influenced his self-expression. Also, it was in his house 11, house of groups, clubs, big organizations, and we know how disruptive was his footprint on the society. In Wolfgang's Amadeus Mozart chart, ALGOL rose with Mercury and imbued the composer's personality, thoughts, and music with passion and intensity. It was a star in his house 8, house of death, and usually it represents the violence or unnatural death by hanging, head injury, poisoning, beheading, or electric chair. People who born under the influence of this fixed star have unbridled nature, which often leads to their own demise or the demise of others. ALGOL is the most negative star in astrology, but it's not the only one. It also emits the rays, the beams of high spirituality, but only those who have reached a certain level of spiritual development can accept them and transform them into the light. It's like the skill to control your superpower. And we know that the power of this fixed star is often destructive. Poisoning and alcoholism are not excluded. It can give some manias, problems with head, with brain, mental issues. It leads a person away from the truth, entices with temptation, plunges into isolation, but also forces people to overcome life's difficulties. At culmination position, this star destroys all projects and can lead to mental problems and illnesses. To those around you, you may become a demon, a seducer, a murderer, or somebody who enforces senseless death, impoverishment, a love of violence, and the loss of one's head. However, if the Sun, Moon, or Jupiter are simultaneously in culmination, this indicates victories in any wars you start. As a humankind, people need violence. They love to see it, they love to enforce it, they need it for protection as well. With the Sun, it indicates a tendency towards leadership in military, sports, legislative fields, in areas related to communication with people or occult sciences. Complications with the law are not excluded, and severe illnesses or unnatural death also is in play. If in the house 8, Sun or Moon are in their zenith, they will be maimed, disfigured, or quartered. If Mars is also in Gemini or Pisces, people's hands or feet will be severed. If there is a conjunction with the Moon, it grants the ability to overcome opponents, enemies, but there is a chance of failure before the final victory. The individuals with a birth chart like this can express feelings with an abundance of words. Hidden illnesses may be present, and there may be difficulties with the law or legal judgment. Violent death or severe illnesses are very likely. If ALGOL conjunct Mercury, it indicates persistence and calmness, which can contribute to successful businessman's career. You can usually see the conjunction like this of the star ALGOL with Mercury in the birth charts of warlords. Explicit or hidden complications in the family are also very likely. When there is a conjunction with Venus in astrology, it warns that when choosing a partner for marriage, one should select someone spiritually close to equal, otherwise the family problems and divorce cannot be avoided. Develop caution to avoid questionable actions. If the person has ALGOL with conjunction and Venus, especially in the house of marriage, house 7, it means that you can lose your head physically or metaphorically just by getting married. There is a high chance that this marriage will not be happy, and the violent death will be caused by a partner because of jealousy or love triangle. Especially it means the death from the hands of a lover. With Mars indicates determination, stubbornness, or fearlessness. The person often walks on the edge of a knife and is courageous enough to act accordingly to their convictions and beliefs. However, there is a tendency towards risky and reckless behavior leading to legal issues. If Mars is higher than the Sun and the Moon to the horizon, and ALGOL has the angular houses of the chart, the person will become a murderer, as well as if we're speaking about the chart of a child, it can be premature death, it can be a stillborn. With Jupiter, it indicates the ability to accumulate material wealth and collect valuable items and become very famous. The person with conjunction of ALGOL and Jupiter has to be very cautious not to be blinded by the jealousy, envy, not to lose the head because you want something too much. There are some rare cases where ALGOL is connected with another fixed star, for example, Heilig, in the angular position, and it means that decapitation or death by the hand of a murderer who will be killed himself. When there is a combination ALGOL and the Wheel of Fortune, unfortunately, it indicates poverty, So in your birth chart, you can check where your wheel of fortune is and check in which degree. If it's in Taurus 26 degree, it's conjunction with ALGOL star. If you were fortunate enough to be born on the day when ALGOL rises with the sun, it will ignite your intensity and passion. At the very least, you are the person who will not tolerate any injustice. If you will suppress your passion, you can lose your mind. You will learn how to manage this intensity when you will go through different life situations. At most, ALGOL's worst case scenario, this position can manifest as bloody and ruthless destruction as a demon woman prefer to act. It's a loss of mind when a person becomes a beast and start devouring and hunting others. As I mentioned above, the star ALGOL represents the head of Medusa in Perseus' hands. Yes, it's a terrible monster that kills with its gaze, but on the other hand, it was with the help of Medusa's head that Perseus was able to achieve so many glorious victories. If you have ALGOL in your birth chart, use these qualities to your advantage, and then it will not create any problems. It will not target you. It will help you to reach your goals. Try to demonstrate symbolic selfishness, violence, cunning, and lack of compromise in those areas where this evil star is present. Suppose a person's chart shows ALGOL in conjunction with the ruler of the second house of money. It gives eternal financial problems as a negative level. This position not only prevents one from earning and receiving money, but also causes constant financial losses as the symbolic violations in the wallet for the others with whom he has the mutual budgets. It's as if fate itself is taking money away from the person. And if the person begins to behave aggressively in the financial matters, refusing to lend, taking away every penny, ALGOL's negative effect will stop hindering and depleting their wallet and will move to another level. Of course, this solution is not easy, but it's definitely better than eternal financial shortage. Here is another example. If you have ALGOL with conjunction with Mercury, use this star as intended to exclude its negative manifestations. For example, one can become a critic or an auditor. One of the ALGOL's properties in astrology is to act like Medusa's venom. In conjunction with Venus, it's enough to introduce some kind of provocations into one's image, maybe investigative journalist or a private investigator. With Mars, engage in extreme sports, competitions, military career, and with the Moon, occasionally break and destroy something, maybe to have demolition business. Remember the movie about Rambo? All well-trained assassin, a soldier driven by guilt, and mercenary who needed violence. He couldn't live in civil society. Or Dexter Morgan TV show. He was raised by a father with a moral code. Nevertheless, Dexter Morgan as a serial killer gave justice to many families and victims who couldn't see the justice. Some war heroes had ALGOL with Mars conjunction in their birth charts. If people will not use the ALGOL star power, they might become very abusive, very destructive, filled of their egos, painfully pedantic attention to the details, and these people might become as a demon, driven only by negative energy, feeding only by negative energy. They can be very skillful manipulators. So it's better to use disruptive energy of ALGOL star for goodness of yourself and other people. When I discovered that star ALGOL affects people in this way, I realized that the person who is not fighting its effect of the star becomes its victim. That's why it's very important to know the birth chart of the future kids, as well as from who those kids are born. In an ideal scenario, women have a power over choosing when to bring the child into this world. Sometimes it's not up to us, but the main program was already set, and we only can guide the children with the bad stars towards the light and give them the moral code towards sports or professions, know where they have the most potential. If children have this hunger for violence, it's better to start controlling it now, in the early ages, so the person will not become as a wild tiger or a wolf or a monster after puberty. If we remember some historical figures, as Adolf Hitler, he had not just ALGOL star with the conjunction of the sun and Taurus. He was born on April 20th, but also he had some other stars as Tejot in house 11, the disruptive star as Bellatrix that brings the society to big deformations and death, as well as Vertex with enormous war spirit. And if some people think that if it would be a time machine and they would go back and kill Adolf Hitler when he was a kid, I guarantee you in the history it would be somebody else with the same placements. This person had to be born. It would be another historical figure with a different name, and it would bring the same disruptive properties. But not all the serial killers and murderers, they have this star in their birth chart. If one look at Ted Bundy's birth chart, we will find out that his sun was in Ophiuchus, his moon was in Sagittarius, Mercury retrograde was in Scorpio, as well as Venus was in Scorpio, Mars in Sagittarius, but all the planets, they were in house 4. The disruptive energies and the fact that he caused death to so many people were caused by other stars like Graphias and Archelaus. But about this evil stars we might talk in the different videos. Let me know if you're interested in any other topics. Leave the comments under this video if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.